right, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us here on Mindful Mondays, brought to you by Q Loves You, Inc. I am Q and your host. Tonight, we've got an interesting show. A very, very, very good friend of mine. One of the most, I guess, how would you say this, spiritually enlightened individuals that I've met. Has graced us here with her presence today. Really excited to introduce Lannette Jameson. Hello, Lannette. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me. I'm really happy to hang out with you.
I appreciate it. It's been a long time. We've been away. You're in Toronto right now for everybody out there, right?
Yeah.
Anything a little different than what's going on in the States, I'm assuming?
Yeah, we are a little more peaceful, but there's still a lot of the fear-based lifestyle that we're going to discuss, and I think that the weather is slightly different. I'm fairly certain because we're kind of easing slowly into winter, where the afternoon it could still feel like a cool day in the summer, but in the evenings you're almost right. You got to put your jacket on and maybe your toque. So that's a little different.
Yeah, I mean, we're, obviously I'm out here in Santa Monica. It's definitely a little different over here, but I'm actually looking to do a little traveling, go back to the Midwest a little bit here in the next month or two, a little Chicago, a little Minnesota, see some family and some friends to kind of expand and just check some things out and connect a little bit, right? But I think I just want to get started and diving in. I want to give people a little background on our relationship and you, obviously. So first things first, I want to just talk about how we met, which is interesting. Do you remember the exact thing? I can kind of go into detail about it. Do you remember?
I actually do. I remember that I knew to go there. I had light going all through me. So that's usually the sign of like incoming. Because of the divine connection, the intimate connection that I continue to practice and have. Due to my near-death experience. I believe strongly and deeply in synchronicity and the divine flow. We call it divine choreography in my book. And when we discuss the way things unfold, and definitely I was divinely guided towards you, and our conversations definitely grew from there. We planted the seed, so to speak.
Which was perfect, right? Yeah. I mean, I remember you walked into the restaurant and you said, I'm looking for Q. And I'm like, well, what? Who's this guy? I don't know. Who's this? Who are you? You got a second to chat and go around the corner, and we went and sat down, and I ended up sitting there having dinner with you for 3 hours? I don't know, 4 hours. We sat there and talked, I think, the first night.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And continued it down.
Emotions.
Lots of emotions.
Yeah, I practice moving my ego selves, I guess we can call it. I think that that's sort of how the world sees it or knows it or understands that language. I understand it a little differently. But basically practicing moving the ego selves allow me to be more of a conduit so that the energies can come through my crown chakra and out my hands, directing like a big giant hug for the people that I'm connecting with. And it's usually very emotional. And it's usually really spectacular for me from my lens to sort of watch someone be connected through the energies that I'm channeling or that I'm bringing through. And this is really a celebration that happens on the other side. There's just so in celebration of course, you, because you're an amazing, beautiful person and soul. And when they get to be invited, because that's really what we really deeply want to talk about, is that, they can remain there on the other side across the veil. So we actually invite in, we're not able to deep at any given moment. And every person, none of us are different. Same. We are literally all the same.
Anyway, how you and I met, that I remember, was amazing to me. The day I was in the restaurant, I won't name the restaurant I was working at, but I was working at a nice restaurant. and in you walk, out of nowhere. I just happened to see you walking in, and you looked kind of lost a little bit. And I was like, "Can I help you?" And you were looking for Q. I remember you saying looking for Q, and I don't know if you had found some. I don't know. You had found somebody or not, but you were looking for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. And I was like, can I help you? And you're like, well, can we sit down and talk? And I was like, sure.
Yeah.
What followed was the story of what you told me and what we're going to get into for everybody here today. But like you were saying, what we talked about before was sitting there and listening to you say what you're about to say when I've never met you before was the heat coming off of my stomach and the energy that was coming on the palms that I was sweating when we were talking about that, which turned into a 3 to 4 hour long conversation and dinner. And now to this point, which is now 2 years plus later about, right?
Yeah.
No, thereabouts.
Yes.
But yeah. So how did you locate you? How did you find me?
Yeah. So I'm guided very authentically and organically. So I could wake up tomorrow and literally be guided like, okay, guess what? You're going to go and fly to Paris. There's someone there for you. And I won't even know who the person is until I get there and until I really deeply listen to the guidance and follow it with full trust. And this took a lot of years of practice to get to here. So for me, one thing I get right now in meditation that really is a big reflection for the world is whatever you think you know, you don't.
Explain that.
Yeah. So, during meditation, when I'm asking for some guidance right now on the planet, like, what's happening, and in other words, the what, how, why, okay, that we always need to go in that left brain, which I call the blender, okay? We need to know, we need to be able to feel it, smell it, taste it, understand it. Like, we always need to know all the ins and the outs. And right now, this is pivotal on the earth plane. Everyone wants the answer. So when I go into meditation, and it's a really simple message, everything you think you know, you don't. So just let go. Just let go of any outcome. Let go of any ideals. Let go of anything you think you know. And just be. This is such a deep message for the whole world right now. Because when that happens, what you actually do is, with intention, you invite in the energies, just like I did on the day that I met you. And I got something that I call incoming, which is basically a download or a message. People call it various things. For me, I just call it incoming. I have light coming through me where I can feel it like electricity. And I have to pay attention and go into meditation. Sometimes I get animals, symbols, numbers, a vision, words. A lot of times I'm guided with almost like a story. And the funny thing is, almost like when I tell people this, it's like a mini movie trailer will play and sort of guide me, to certain souls that I'm destined to meet, no matter what I do, as long as I'm listening and I'm connected to my heart, especially. And I just go where I feel like I'm needed. And that was that day. Now, I knew I was supposed to be in Malibu for various reasons. And then what was shaping for me, because all these musicians,
right.
this is our first conversation,
was
the music. And the music has been there from day one, and it will never leave. It's such a big, beautiful part, of this little, I guess, storytelling, because that's all we really are doing. We're just telling a story to try and assist humanity at this time. And that's really why I didn't die and stay home, as tempting as that was.
well, and I think, and sorry to cut you off, but I think now we kind of gave that idea of what you're kind of feeling. I think we need to go back a little further to say how you found me this way, but
yes.
but how you got to have these,
yes.
ability, or at
Yeah.
least it was made clear, was an interesting
Yeah.
too, right? So how, I mean, let's go back to your near death. For those that are watching, she had a very interesting
Yeah.
near death experience. So
I was living a life that, if I could put it into words, was not my own, because I had a really big addiction that was very hard to heal or lift. I like to call it lift because it's really that simple. If we have the intention of lifting it, sort of untangling it and really deeply understanding why it's there in the first place. And my really deep addiction was basically pleasing everyone and forgetting about myself.
yeah, I know that well.
And I've talked to some addicts that have battled alcoholism and drug addiction. And when I explain, what this feels like in my soul and how hard it is to lift it, and, how I'm tripping and falling, I'm getting in my own way all the time, we realize together that it's all the same. And we all have addictions. We all have this in common. And the more we talk about it comfortably and openly and authentically, the easier it is to lift away the addiction. So whenever I'm talking to anyone, I always say, like, what's your addiction? And I try and get the communication going. And a lot of people get poked by that, or like put off by that. Well, like, no, I have no addictions. And it's like, no, every person does. Find yours, because it's really freeing when you don't, have these needs and wants and expectations and attachments. And that was actually what we discussed pretty deeply, you and I. And it was when you first started understanding what would that be like if I didn't have these needs, these wants, the expectations, and the attachments to everything and everyone around me. And the answer to that really simple equation is freedom of soul, meaning that you get to live in a really peaceful place that is freed up of the blender. So this way that we have these perpetual thoughts of what it's supposed to look like, what we're supposed to be doing, what is expected of us, how are we going to make a living, like constantly obsessing about all of these things. That's not even throwing in, a child or children, pets, a spouse, and then the outside family.
Right.
And it's really become overwhelming for every person on the planet right now, because it's all being brought up to the surface. So when I lost my way, I'm going to call it, and lost myself, there was hardly any of me there. Everything revolved around constantly pleasing other people and making sure everyone was okay. I would literally take care of people and forget to have water in a whole day, or even forget to go to the washroom. And it's like, I'm taking care of children, and I'm, really trying very hard to balance everything, because that blender would just keep that list going of like all these things I had to do and be responsible. And the more I became good at my addiction, the more actually that came across my list.
Well, I was just saying, your list gets, but you get addicted to the list, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. It really is like that.
Right.
And then everyone wants to give you something to place on your list because you're a go-getter.
You can get it. You can handle it. You got it. It's all you.
Totally. Like if anyone, like just put that on there, because she always comes through, And so I had to really unlearn everything that I had learned. So all of the belief systems, all the conditioning, and the unlearning is actually a really beautiful process if you allow it to be. And it's really a choice. It is really a choice of how you want to get up every day and connect to your own self. And that's what we're facing right now. So the morning that I met you that day, later in the day, that morning I had the light. I had the messages incoming. Today, Lannette, you're going to honor the artists. And what I was actually shown, and of course, time is not real. It doesn't really exist. So
when I see these visions, I see them like they're tomorrow, as you know, like it could be 5 years from that date, but you're feeling them, living them, experiencing them, because this is like, wow, I need to find a place for musicians to all come together. And there's someone that I'm to meet that's going to really assist me and feel this journey that I'm on. So I already knew sort of what I was getting into before I even walked into the building. I knew you, you know,
Right.
and I knew to look for you. And I knew that when I found you, that I would talk to you for, you know, more than 5 or 10 minutes, that you were a soul connection. And we have these all around us, but we're so busy in the blender that they pass us by almost every day. And we're missing the bigger perspectives because we can't look from those lenses of the no need, the no want, the no expectation, and the no attachment.
Well, and
So
I think, sorry to cut you off. I mean, just to put it in perspective, is exactly what you're saying for those that are watching this. I mean, what you did to me, our conversation that day, and we had multiple conversations after this, right? I mean, there were so many conversations that you've helped me see, but there was a synchronicity in it all, and something I had been feeling that I just couldn't place on. I was there with it, and you helped me you helped come in and connect it. And I'm like, oh my God, I've been feeling this, knowing this, seeing this, but it took somebody to walk in like yourself to just the key in the lock and turn. And that really was a catalyst to the start of, I mean, I was working on things, but a catalyst to my soul search in a different level, that where I'm at right now has a lot to do with meeting you, right?
Yeah, your journey. I mean, we will connect when we're present and when we're connected to the divine, to our own hearts. So finding our true authentic self, and what I call the seed that we come to the planet with. So like when we're born, it's basically seeded into our heart. And it's really something that it's in service to humanity, if I can put it into words. So it's not something so much that is an individual thing. This is something that you have in your heart that is for all of humanity, for everyone to enjoy or to express, or to, you know, whether you're creatively an artist, a musician, a poet, a writer, a filmmaker, you know, the creatives, they actually understand this more deeply than any other soul on the earth plane. And all of us, this is what I experienced in heaven, have been all these creatives in other lives, past lives. So every time we come with sort of a checklist. What does my soul want to learn and experience in this lifetime? And when we look at it like that, and you're really present and really connected, your journey has a lot more clarity, because you're out of the blender, let's call it, and you're settling beautifully in your heart and discovering your addictions. You're discovering, you know, why you're getting up and doing what you're doing every day. Why is this a desire of mine? Where is the passion?
Right. Passion.
Where is the, you know, the creative drive, like this divine creative energy coming from, and how is it going to direct me on my path or my journey? And these deep questions that we can ask our soul, they don't have anything really to do with religion. And that's why so many people are comfortable talking to me, because I'm completely neutral. And I also have...
You've mentioned a lot. I mean, you've mentioned a lot of people you talk to, and a lot of people you deal with are actually atheists, right? I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah, I love speaking to, actually, even just today, a beautiful atheist, where he can articulate to me that he's so unlearned. So he's open.
Sure.
He's so unlearned because he had to unlearn the religious belief systems that actually did damage to his soul. And that's why he's atheist. Now,
you put him in a box of sorts to confine him into a certain, right?
And the reason he's so comfortable, you know, with the seed movement in particular, is that it's just in neutral, it's open, it's for everyone. But it also, you know, because I remember so much about my near-death experience, I realize something very important for us to understand, that yes, I think that humanity is starting to understand that we are creating our reality with every breath, with every word, with every thought, with every heart emotion. We're creating what is around us. Then you're taking it another step to understand, wow, I'm actually creating it with many, and when you understand that, these like-minded people, these souls that come in and inspire us, these souls that come in and love us so beautifully and magically that we really literally feel like we're capable of anything. That's the beautiful journey of it. And then another step further would be, we are all creating as a collective. So what we see as our reality on the planet right now, we are creating it. Now, the mind-blowing thing about my near-death experience is that I have all the recollection of what happened across the veil. I can remember it. In fact, we're going to create it into a movie, into a film, so that we can openly invite every soul on the planet to participate, because no one is wrong from what I saw. The same way that we create our reality here on the earth plane, we're creating it across the veil. So if you want to experience a meadow with sun and rivers and oceans and animals, you have to just create that. That's what you're creating in your heart, because that makes you the most comfortable to experience your own transition, which is one of the most spectacular experiences that I will ever experience. It's something that I look forward to. I look forward to going home again.
So you're not, obviously, in layman's terms, you're not scared of death. There is no death.
I welcome it.
Death is not real in a lot of senses, right? I mean,
that's right. This is our shell, our skin. We look a certain way because we want to create a certain experience for ourselves. We've been everything. So that's the funny thing, is that when people stumble and trip on themselves so badly that they're actually causing pain and trauma and violence on another human being, usually what they're so enraged about, they've dealt with that in other lifetimes. And we can really easily tap into this. We just don't understand how to. So what the film and the seed movement, what it beautifully shows very gently and gracefully, is really how to accept the tools in whatever way you choose to. And understand that these tools, we all get them. We all get them. We all get access to them. And it's very simple. We're all communicating with the same energy. No one is right, no one is wrong. We're all lovely, beautiful souls that just have to understand how to invite in the energies, whatever it looks like. If it's God, if it's Allah, if it's, you're Buddhist, if you're atheist,
I'll come from the same energy. However the energy you get, and you take it however you see it.
Exactly. Like, you're going to be able to feel the energy. For me, I can feel Christ consciousness. Yep. I can feel God consciousness. I can feel source energy. And other people, they might see it as Father Sky, right? And right. Mother Earth. Right. How perfect. They're feeling the same energies. And the minute we understand and accept this with an open heart, the minute we can put down all those bags of resistance and separation. So, I actually feel like right now on the planet, and this is what you and I really wanted to deeply discuss, is that you get to perceive this in a way that is either...
We're talking about what's going on the planet, right? You're talking about the divisiveness, the
yes,
fear,
the separation.
Yes. The death, all the craziness, right? Now
all the craziness, the chaos, I call it.
Yep.
The debris.
Yes.
The debris is all over the river because we're all flowing through our journey. Now, some of us can whitewater raft through that journey and it feels spectacular, and you're flying. And others really do feel like they're drowning and they're holding onto a piece of driftwood saying like, I'm not up for this.
Right.
So when you understand the tools, all the heaviness is real. Do not even claim that some people are not drowning, because they literally are drowning in emotions. They're drowning in debt. They're drowning in fear. Like, this is so real. I never, ever want to say that, people are crazy or they're not feeling, it's all a matter of your mindset or anything like that. No, this is the heart. We're talking about the heart here. We have to have compassion. We have to have empathy. If we can just simply have this patience with one another and understand that these feelings are very, very real for so many people, even if you're not there,
right,
you still have been there. You have been there. So go back and remember that for a moment, and that is really where we're at, where these tools can lift the heavy emotions so that you become lighter and lighter every day. And this makes so much sense to me because I was very dense. My soul was very heavy and I was clouded in darkness, before my near death. I could really not understand why I wasn't a free soul and why I would do things that made me feel so badly inside. Like, why am I doing this every day?
Self-sabotage? Or are you talking about like work ethic? Are you talking about working?
I'm talking about all of it. Maybe I'm getting up and I'm spending 10 hours a day doing something and I go, why am I doing that? And we have these epiphanies, all of us. We have these moments, where we contemplate and we have to really dig deep and think deeply. And a lot of people will be like, whoa, man, like that's too deep for me. That talk is too deep for me. Right. And it's like, it's okay, because when they're ready, they're going to go there anyway. You eventually create experiences to bring yourself there.
Right.
This is the journey. There's no getting around it. So when you're light and those emotions are lifted, which is very easy to do with the tools, however you want to create it, however you want to see it, however you want to feel it, as long as you're participating. The biggest word right now on the planet is, how are you going to participate? This is the word, man. Participate. How are you going to choose to participate? You can choose to walk in fear, and to carry this heaviness. That is a choice. And when people want to choose that, I'm okay with that. It's like, okay, all right, I'm here, as a heart that's listening with empathy and compassion, and I'm here, but you don't want to save the person, because that's not your job. That's not why you came. That's not even part of any of your mission or your seed, let's call it, your journey. And we realize that we can really just inspire and just pick one another up. So like when someone has fallen, you don't have to just go rushing and do everything for them, but you can smile and you can say a kind word. And even if they're badly behaved back to you, you can still be the light and hold that space for them, because we've all been there. That's the thing. And sometimes we just need a reminder of that. And I feel like the seed movement creates a space for every soul on the planet to understand this, initially understand it any way you can. And if it's just more kindness, more gratitude, a lighter way of living, maybe a better way of eating, lifting your life force, lifting your vibration. If you're in fear, you're walking around and you're saying, well, I haven't really been the healthiest soul on the planet. And now there's a virus that I could catch. I could give to other people, my children, all of this fear. Yep. There are choices that you can make every day. You can say, how can I lift my life force and be as healthy as I can be? And there's so many beautiful, brilliant ways to do this. And there's so much information. There's documentaries.
That's called the internet, right? I mean, it's
yes.
everywhere, right?
Yeah. And so when people, it's really a choice. And I noticed that some people just choose being in the fear and being in the two energies that are really sabotaging humanity right now. And it's the combative and defensive. And Lincoln actually taught me this, my 12-year-old. He teaches us many things, but he said that we have to practice being neutral. We can't be combative and we can't be defensive. And I had to sit with that for a long, long time and understand that deeply and realize, wow, neutral is such an easy, graceful place to be.
But it is, but it's interesting. Now I just literally, and I'm going to go a little direction here. It's two things. One, I literally, before we got on our talk here, a friend of mine just made the same kind of jump I did a couple years ago, literally. And the thing that she's trying to get adjusted to is, in her mind, right, is the neutrality, is doing nothing and not getting pulled in all those directions and being able to just be, which
Yes.
is, and what I referred to it to her as was, you know, if you ever done like this massagers, the super massagers, they just, you know, on your
Yes.
arm, and you get done with it and your arm still is vibrating, but it's
Yeah.
done. That's kind of the thing that takes a while to go away, to get into that and get comfortable with it. It really is easy once you get there to an extent, but
That's
because
a
of the rat,
beautiful way.
yeah, because of the rat race we're in, it's just, we are
Yes.
consistently on that vibration, right?
Yeah.
And I was
That's
listening.
a beautiful way to express it.
Yeah, it was an interesting thing. It literally was 10 minutes before we got on our call here, and then you were just talking about that, and I was listening to Comfortably Numb came on by Pink Floyd when I was in the shower, right? And
Yes.
and it started making me think, now that's not neutral either, that's comfortably numb, which is where I think a lot of us are right now, which is funny, that song came into my head and I decided to play it, but that's where a lot of us are right now, or a lot of
Yes.
people are comfortably numb. They're just so weighed down and like in this thing that, what do they do? The neutrality, is it neutral? It's not neutral. I feel like that's a negative connotation to be comfortably numb, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know, just kind of going off a little tangent of thought there with where you were.
Well, and comfortably numb really means that you don't have to face anything.
Right.
So let's say, for example, in your country, that there's something that is said or shown, you know, on a big scale through the media that pokes someone or makes them really angry or rageful or hateful. Then all that really is it's directing the energies that there's something there that needs to be lifted. It means that you're holding something in your cube of consciousness or your soul. Because if you can't look at it through a lens of neutrality, this is very powerful. You have work to do. You've got to go in, you've got to face it, you've got to feel it. Why am I feeling this? Why am I angry right now? And then you've got to lift it. Use your tools, use your energies, use the invitation. And when you do lift it, every time you practice this, because this is a spiral thing, there's no levels.
Right.
This is you go in a circle, man. Like some days you're way up here and you're feeling amazing, and the next day you're totally on your ass. Like This is just the way it is. It's never going to change. You know, you're always going to continually, everything is full circle, everything. Like your lessons, your experiences, you know, your trips, your stumbles, your falls.
But like the ego gets in the way, and right, like you're talking about, right? The ego gets in the way and it really is one of those things where it's almost like, you know, people that are in AA or whatever, the first thing is understanding that you have a problem, or looking at yourself.
Yes.
And saying, I accept that I have, like you talk about addictions and stuff like that. I have problems, but it's so hard for us to see those demons in ourselves. We don't want to look because it's so damn ugly, and we're scared what we're going to find. Right?
Yes. And you know what? I'm going to tell you that I just overcame something the other day, and it really delighted me, because we really have to go about this in a way that makes us laugh, you know,
laughing and dancing.
Yes, makes fun of ourselves. Like we actually have to. Lincoln and I do it all the time, and same as my team. You know, my team and I, we laugh at each other. We laugh for each other, with each other, at ourselves. And this is a part of the healing. And I overcame something. I have one character, let's just call them, in my game or my journey, who bullies me. And I love this soul. I love this character. Like I really, really love him. But he waits to jump, and he pounces, and he does it publicly. And it used to really like hurt my feelings. Okay. This is ego. So if you can't look at it with a neutral lens, with like love, compassion, understanding, like that's that person's feelings. Who are you to tell them that they can't feel like that? Right. They're entitled to their feelings. I don't want to impose or impress anything on anyone, because that's not why I came. Now, I had to, when he would do this, I would have to sit there, use my tools, lift that stuff, and say, like, someday you're going to look at these bullying comments and you're going to have no reaction in the heart, except for love.
Right.
and understanding and wisdom and patience and grace.
Right.
And I achieved that. And I was like, it feels really, really good. Because it's a different lens that you're looking out of. It's not combative and not defensive. I don't want to be combative or defensive with him. I want to just love him because I do love him. No matter what his behavior is towards me, I just want to just know that this is someone that I appreciate. There's beautiful aspects of his soul. I'm going to celebrate him, and I'm not going to allow this to sort of change that, because you can't operate in a space where you're just like constantly defensively and combatively cutting people out of their lives. It doesn't work like that.
Well, so where are we at in, kind of sticking around with where we're talking about right now? Where are we at with the divisive nature then in general? I mean, I know what we're saying when you're with someone close, but now how do we take that recipe and make that for the masses in a time of such divisiveness that's going on, like, Instagram,
Yes.
and all these things, and what we choose to look at and what we don't choose to look at, and if we're wearing masks or not wearing masks, red or blue, what are we, what are we doing? How do we bring that together? Because that's certainly, again, part of our point of contention that we are looking to try to spread some kind of idea with right now on this, right, with us.
Yeah.
So getting kind of the same idea, but where are we at?
Well, what I feel really deeply and what I'm getting in meditation every day is that we are being shown a little mirror. And the mirror is really a reflection of all the chaos and the debris, but it's going back towards ourselves. So if each and every one of us could just reflect on the chaos and the debris, like, why is this happening? Okay, what does this really look like? Like, what is the bigger picture here? Because there definitely is one. Yeah. It's a beautiful one too.
Right, I agree.
We can't transmute and we can't transform until we kind of hit rock bottom, which I would say we're not quite there yet.
Which is scary for a lot of people, or even to fathom. But at this point in time, where we're at right now, it's really hard for me not to fathom there's more coming. Right? Yeah,
and remember too that the message that I've been getting lately is whatever you think you know, you don't.
And thanks for that. That's a sobering reminder. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, and when we let go, when we completely let go, okay, of everything we even want to think about, because I think this is really the point. This is the little mirror that's shining back at ourselves. It's asking us to go within and to be in a place of quietude so that we can even start to feel who we truly are.
Absolutely.
Why we came, what is our purpose? And that's a beautiful thing that's happening right now on the earth plane. These chaotic events are allowing us to reflect. And if we can do it within our own hearts, it creates a ripple effect. So it creates ripples to our children, to our spouses, to our family, to our pets, to the animals around us all over the world, to nature. Definitely right now, we're all being more connected to nature.
100%.
And, as much as I love discussing climate change, and all the issues that we are up against, let's call it, but those are combative and defensive. If we look at that in a neutralized way, then what I feel deeply in my heart is that we need to accept that we are all creating what we're seeing as far as climate goes. We're creating this collectively. So instead of going and thinking that billions of dollars is the answer and doing certain things on the planet, I'm not saying that it's not, I'm in neutral, but I am saying, imagine if we could all understand the power of each of our souls, that what we manifest on the inside shines. And collectively, when you bring that together, there's the reality that we're showing on the earth plane.
That spreads just like anything else spreads, right? I mean, I know it sounds whatever, but opening it, that's the same thing. Open a door for somebody. You see a little piece of trash on the ground, pick it up. I mean, basic little things, but how that response of letting somebody cross the street or go in front of you or whatever those little things are, I could
Mhm.
start with that, but it's almost like that butterfly effect, right? That just,
Yeah.
and the rest of that day kind of flows. I mean, it's kind of the same thing. What we're saying is if we just start being better, right? Looking at ourselves, be the best version of ourselves, start with one, that kind of can spread too, I think, right? Is that kind of where
Yeah.
you're going?
Yeah. And I mean, if you're listening to your guidance, let's say, so if you're getting up and you're not in the blender with your lists and who you need to go please and what you need to do, and how you need to do it, like it's so overanalyzed, which I call this left brain. When you bring it over into the right brain, which is the creative, this is your godliness. And if you're not religious, this is your divinity. This is your energetics, your passion, your heart. And if you can listen to the guidance, you're going to know, like, I'm supposed to go over there and give that person $5.
Right.
I'm supposed to go and feed that homeless man.
Right.
Today, I know for a fact, I'm supposed to go and speak to these children, and hug that lady. Well, obviously not right now, but normally, you know what I'm saying? Like, make a difference. Ask, can I help you with your groceries? I actually met the most beautiful soul in Los Angeles because I helped him with his groceries in the grocery store, and I became his friend. And he said, like, who are you? And I said, well, I'm Lannette. And he said, well, like, where are you from? And I said, Canada. And he said, I knew it, because no one here would help me.
No. I'm almost. Go ahead. I'm almost Canadian. I'm Minnesotan, so I have that kind of tendency, that Midwest type thing where like get the Canadian.
Yeah,
but it's
we
kind
just help. Yeah, Yeah, and he's this sweet little older man, and I don't know anything about him, but I know his name, and I had so much fun chatting with him. And he said, "Can I do something nice for you? Well, can I take you for coffee or buy you dinner or something?" And I just was guided to say to him, you know what, my friends and I are going for dinner tonight. Why don't you join us? We're sitting on a patio. We're going to this beautiful place. And he just looked at me with his mouth open, like, are you kidding? I'm in my 80s and I'm going to get joined. I'm going to get to join a party of people to go out and have, dinner. And he really appreciated the invitation, and he ended up coming. And I sat there with some of my connections, of course, these beautiful, brilliant souls that I came to LA to connect with, like yourself. And as I was introducing him, and I never even asked him, like, what did you used to do? Or like none of these left brain questions. I just loved him. And I just, like, we laughed together. We talked about life. We talked about the neighborhood, because he knew I was from Canada. He was telling me beautiful historical things. We were talking about the flowers and the trees.
Oh, wow.
And when my friend sat down and said, like, what did you used to do? He said, well, I used to produce a little show. You might know it. It's Johnny Carson. And I did another one called I Dream of Jeannie. And my friends literally fell off their chairs, and they're like, only you, Lannette, would bring these people. Like, and he ended up actually giving Lincoln and I beautiful, beautiful tickets to see Neil Diamond and many other artists. Again, the music is always there.
Yep.
Get his Lifetime Achievement Award.
Oh, wow. Super
And
cool.
he had surgery and he couldn't make it. And he really wanted us to go in his place. And we did go, and we gifted him a beautiful frame with pictures of us there. And it just made his day.
That's amazing.
And he was a really very beautiful soul. I haven't seen him because I haven't been back to LA, but I do call him every once in a while. And he doesn't really get long distance. So I have to really be in LA to reconnect again.
Oh, wow.
But these kind of people I'm guided to along the journey all the time. And when you're listening to your guides and you're really in your flow, like what we were talking about, there's not much debris there, because you're looking from a lens that is very calm and peaceful, and it's a very sovereign way of living.
Well, and something that we talk about all the time, and you certainly bring it up, is that we all, and you say this all the time, we all have the tools. We all have the ability to
everything we need.
Everything we need. We all have it. And the problem is, and I certainly can attest to, I always talked about, and I tell all my friends all the time, again, disconnecting to the point where I can get rid of the ambient noise. Part of the reason I left what I left was so and when you can say, you can hear, and you get rid of that noise. It's literally like a ringing in your ears. And when you can just stop and you can get over the fear of being calm, because it's scary when you're moving so fast, the amount of synchronicity and things that start to hear and show themselves, it just starts happening. Like you can't really deny it once you lean into it, right? You just lean into it, it starts coming back, and it's the most beautiful thing when you start to see that. At least for me, and I know many.
And when you and I met, the synchronicities that I was experiencing, sort of, touched your heart and ignited you, because that way your synchronicities and all of these, we would maybe call them a long time ago coincidences, but I don't believe in coincidence, right?
Yeah, 10, 15 years ago it was coincidences, and then as they kept happening, I realized there's no...
Like déjà vu, that saying, like...
Déjà vu?
I've been here, I've been here before, I've done this before, I've experienced, and like, this is because past lives. Like for me, after my near-death experience, I can actually experience and see a lot of my past lives, which is a very powerful thing. But you're not going to
like during right now, or when you
always
were able to see. So now you can see it.
Always. So when I was over there, yes, because they had to express to me, and I want to say express because it was like a movie trailer of like, okay, this is why you came. Here's the souls that are going to come in and find you. And I was like, no way. Is that person going to find me?
Hold on a second. I just want to say, you had a heart surgery. Right?
Yes.
And you actually died for 7 minutes and 48 seconds, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah.
And meanwhile, when your heart stopped, you went to the other side, and this is kind of what you're seeing now. Just so people, we hadn't really gone into that quite yet.
Yeah. And I think where we left that off was that I understood immediately that we create what we want to see. So people are creating different versions of this beautiful transformation of going from the shell to the eternal soul. So home for a while for healing and more tools, more experiences, and more responsibility. Like we have responsibility on the other side. We help the others, right? We help other souls.
So we help those that are here.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so that's and so that everybody's got a little job to do, and so we go back in. Do we choose to come to this playing and with the thing in mind? Are we chosen for that? We
always choose. Everything is just so graceful, you're placed wherever you want to be. So if you cross over and you're in very low vibration, well, you're not going to have like this incredible experience of high vibration, because it would actually hurt you. Like it would actually affect you in a negative way. So you're going to go to a vibration that is comfortable for you, because it's very graceful, and you're going to get this beautiful way of healing and layers lifted off so that you're more and more comfortable, so that you can have deeper understandings. The experiences don't stop. They actually accelerate on the other side. You're having much more understanding on the other side, because to be honest, the ego selves are lifted instantaneous. You're so free. Do
you see like what was or what is going to be, or all of the above at the same time?
Yeah, so the life review is actually a really beautiful, magnificent experience, because it's a spectrum of emotions. So it's not what you think.
You see it in emotion. You live it in emotion as opposed to...
Yes. Well, and you're also creating it. So it's almost like your life review is whatever you want it to be, right?
Huh.
So some people, but it's deeper than that. So it's like the highest version of you is doing the talking. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And so it's
now,
much
the
more...
highest version of you here, or the highest version of you, period? Like
eternal soul.
Okay, got you. Okay.
So it would definitely be the most, the one with the most wisdom, the one that's most free. Like our eternal soul is really what we're made up of from all the experiences, right? And it's all divine. It's all a divine light infusion of like this, and again, you get to create it however you want to see it. But the life review is actually really spectacular, because what it shows you is all of these things that you've done from your own heart for no reason. So in a sovereign way, which is free soul, So not because you're pleasing anyone or because you feel obligated. Like none of that is what is shown. What was shown to me was the things that I did for other people just because my heart wanted to, and out of happiness and joy. But the thing that is so spectacular about it is that it shows a beautiful wave of energy of what it created. So you can never underestimate.
So you don't know how, like, so it shows you the extent of your butterfly effect from all these things that you've done. It how it touches everybody else's life from
through
that
the collective. It actually affects the collective. It affects the entire universe.
So would it be, is it relative? The bigger the action, the bigger the wave, or is it just?
No, it's the heart. So it could be a really subtle action, but it's all about the intention and the purity of the heart of you know, this beautiful way of loving. It all is interconnected with love. So if you can imagine, you know, leaving the density of the shell or the skin, and being in your eternal free soul, because that's what happens. You're free of all these energies that really hold you back from being the best version of you. And when you're there, you have this beautiful experience of so much love you can barely, like, and you know, we've had these moments, you and I, where it's like you have so much love that you can't even hold your emotions. Like for me, I almost cry every day. I moved every day.
Wow.
So are you, like, you're the same. You're like me. Like someone can really move us to a place of like just disbelief and exaltation and bliss, you know? And this is what happens when you're just open to these experiences and to actually seeing people for their true authentic selves, right? Not really their behavior in the now, but like seeing past that.
The core of what they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like many people will say to me, like some of my really close connections will say, I want to be the way you look at me. I want to be that person that you see. Because the thing is that I really do hold the space because I'm seeing the highest version of them. Like I'm seeing this most beautiful, brilliant, loving soul. So even if they're tripping and stumbling on their ego self, it's not really what I focus on or what I look at or see. And even souls that have done, like, you know, what I would consider a long time ago something very despicable. Now I'm saying, like, they gave themselves that experience to overcome. Look at how beautifully and brilliantly they've overcome that. Right. And only this, like, the most powerful, strongest souls give themselves extraordinary circumstances to overcome. Imagine if we felt this as a society and we stopped judging and criticizing. And we change the language, because that's really what the seed movement really focuses on, is changing the language. So imagine when you meet someone, instead of them being humiliated, like, you know, I've gone to jail, I've served time. It's like, wow, tell me, why would you give yourself that extraordinary experience? And how did you overcome it? Like, imagine if we just shifted the vibration and the frequency of the language. And if we held the space for them to be authentic and truthful, and actually even talk about it in a really real way, it's so healing. It's healing for everyone involved. It's healing for me to accept their experience as their own experience, to also not judge, not criticize it, but instead, you know, look at it through a lens of hopefulness, of transformation, of love, of forgiveness, of all these spectrum of emotions that we can choose if we want to. But we also have to heal to there, because our innate, right now, what's happening on the planet is everyone is going into these combative and defensive energies. Right. And Lincoln is right. We need to find our neutral, whatever that looks like for us. So not telling someone what neutral looks like, not imposing or subjecting someone to anything, but just allowing them to be. And I think that's what you were trying to say earlier, like your friend and yourself, like just be. You know, if you can sit and be loving and emit love from your heart, it's helping the whole universe.